not a big Ohio State fan, but like once TCU won,
Yeah.
I was all in on Ohio State. Like I just wanted something entirely new, right? Like TCU made it. I want a team that like isn't usually there. Not Alabama, not Georgia. And oh man. But when I cannot believe that wasn't targeting in the back of the end zone. And then they knocked him out of the game in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have shit from then on out.
So I'm not a football fan, I wouldn't say. Like I'm not a fan of football. It probably breaks your heart, right?
I mean,
does
it
Are you saying you're not a fan or you're not a follower of football?
I'm not really a fan.
Okay, so it means you don't like it.
Do you know what I heard? This is what ruined it for me. I've told you this before, right?
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to say.
You will when I tell you.
Yeah.
So football, I don't know if I saw like I don't know if I listened to a podcast or I saw like some sort of analysis on TV, but they essentially broke out a football game, the length of a football game, which like how long do you think the average of a football game is? 3 hours and
3.5.
3.5 hours, right? So the statistic that stood out to me that was within a 3 hour and 30-minute football game.
How much action there actually was?
Actual played time, it's like 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I'm talking like snap, balls in play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you typically, if you had 30 minutes of possession in a game, you are going to win because you'd be able to run the clock.
Right.
The amount of plays you would run, statistically speaking, if you had 30 minutes of ball time.
And that's what's so different.
That's not like actual play, though. That's like the clock running. That doesn't mean you're actually playing, right? Because you train the clock running a lot of the time, too.
Yeah, and it kind of ruined it for me, to be honest. Like, I mean, I don't know. And then what else I saw the other day?
There's a lot of strategy pre-snap. There's so much strategy pre-snap that I like. Just in my past life of defense and trying to hide schemes and drop a safety or blitz a corner. Like there's so much strategy in that. So I like the pre-snap stuff, and I always watch the pre-snap stuff.
I also didn't grow up playing football other than just football in the park with some buddies, tackle football. So I didn't grow up playing football. So maybe that was probably partly it. But when I saw that statistic, I was just like,
there's no way anyone can deny the entertainment of the aggression in football. How fucking aggressive the game is. Yeah. That's very entertaining.
Do you know what else I find it entertaining? And I guess it's that way with any game. I mean, it's the bottom of the ninth. It's the last 2-minute drive, right? Like,
who's going to show up?
Yeah, that last it's like that game we talked about. I mean, I thought Georgia was done. I'm like
Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, I'm like Ohio's got the game in hand. There's no way they lose this game. And they come back.
CJ Stroud is a stud though too. I did not give him enough credit. Watching him in that game, that was incredible.
Yeah.
But Stetson Bennett, dude, talk about a gamer.
I feel bad for the field goal kicker.
I mean, that is what it is. That's what you get in college.
I know, but it's
That's
like
what you get.
For the rest of your life, you're going to be remembered as that guy.
You could have went to.
Could have went.
I mean, it
comes with the territory. It definitely
it's really
does,
shitty. It's like the kickers are the only ones who can't ever make a mistake. A quarterback can throw 2-3 interceptions in a game, but he can save it.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. And everyone's like, oh, my God, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kickers, I feel so bad for kickers, man. It's literally the one position where there's no leeway.
Did
like
you guys
it's either this or nothing.
Did you follow the World Cup?
No.
Oh, I did when I was in Tajikistan.
As soon as we got the U.S. was out, I was out.
I was watching over there.
The English guy, Harry Kane, he's like their go-to guy, their striker in the World Cup to advance to the next round. Misses a PK.
Ooh.
Yeah, to tie up the game that would have put it into overtime. That could potentially, they could have won. But like he missed the PK, and I've been watching. They've been like, because they're currently in regular season right now, the Premier League, and like anytime he's on the road now, everybody's chanting like national disappointment. Like,
oh gosh, see,
that guy has to live with that.
It's so unfair.
But that like final match was intense.
It was good.
That's what I really struggle with. Not personally, but watching other people dehumanize athletes.
Ugh.
Like, yes, they are a pawn in a scheme that we get to our benefit of entertainment, our benefit of sports betting, our benefit of fucking fantasy football, which I don't know how anybody's into that.
It's hunting season.
Like, it's hunting season. And just to pay attention and to think you're actually coaching this team. I don't know. It's really weird for me. But, like, man, they just dehumanize the shit out of athletes. Like,
I feel terrible.
You've never had a bad day?
I mean,
you've never made a mistake.
I mean, I guarantee you nobody hurts worse than that guy. Like, he misses APK to potentially put on the biggest platform in that sport.
The athlete's mindset, like, the amount they sacrifice and how hard they have to work to be at that level, like, everything they deal with. You don't think he hurts worse than you? Like, you think you care more than he cares?
Yeah.
Come on.
I saw another funny one the other day. People hate soccer generally in the U.S., I would say. Nobody ever scores a goal, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's brutal.
But here's the thing.
I mean, there's just no aggression in the game. No aggression.
But here's the difference.
Hockey doesn't score that many goals either, but
I
people
know.
are laying each other out, and there could be a fight at any second.
But think about both of those sports. We've just decided that one touchdown is worth 6 points.
I know.
Versus
exactly.
a goal is one goal.
It's
I thought that was pretty funny.
But the thing about it is like in football, if the score is 7-10, right? Which means there was 3 scoring events, right? 3 in 3.5 hours. But there's so much aggression in between that it like holds your entertainment the entire time.
Aggressive guy, aren't you?
That's the entertainment. I love the fighting sports. I love
he loves
hockey.
that predator prey mentality.
Yes,
You know?
I love hockey. I love football. That's what I'm into.
Yeah. No, I get it. It is exciting. It's cool. It's a cool time of year, right?
Awesome.
For football. You watch a lot of football then over the break, huh?
A lot of football.
The only game I caught was the New Year's Eve college games.
Yeah.
Great
It's
games.
the only 2 games I watched
Both
pretty
games
much
were
all
amazing.
season.
Are those always on New Year's Eve?
Mm-hmm.
They are. I thought it was like a new thing.
I didn't realize.
Since the college football playoffs, since the CFP, I might be wrong on a couple of the years, but the CFP's only been around for a short while, and I'm pretty sure every year's been on New Year's Day.
I thought it was cool.
New Year's Eve day.
I thought it was cool just because it gave me something that whole New Year's Day.
Yeah, that's the only reason
what's
why
cool is the NFL works with them, so NFL switches everything to Saturday.
Yeah.
And then they get to it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty unique that the ball was dropping right when that kick was being thrown off.
I
saw those two that video.
I saw that on ESPN. That's pretty wild. It's really wild.
I think I might have to. I wonder what tickets to those games are. I'm sure they're not cheap.
Oof.
That'd be a good way to bring in the new year.
Be a great way to bring in the new
Go to
year.
one of those college football playoff games.
When
my cousin played for Notre Dame, they played Clemson back when Surfer Dude was. I'm terrible with names.
Laird?
Jaguars quarterback.
No, did you say Surfer?
He looks like.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking
he
about.
looks
Long
like
hair.
Sunshine from.
I thought you meant
Remember
an
the Titans.
actual Surfer.
I forget everybody's.
Yeah, no,
I'm terrible with names. It's weird. I know like all of them, but I don't know anyone's names.
It's old
but
age
I can
creeping
tell you
up on you.
what position, and all that shit. It's old age for sure.
Early onset Alzheimer's. That's what I think it is. Yeah.
Or I just don't pay enough attention.
I was just talking to my brother about this the other day.
I'm a surface level.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
My memory's definitely not what it was.
No. But anyways, he was playing. So Clemson, back when they had him, and then the unbelievable wide receiver number 8. He's in the league now too. But we went to the game to watch my cousin play Notre Dame versus Clemson. They were in the semifinal. They were each playing. It's when Clemson went to the finals and won. But going to that's the first college football playoff I had ever been to. Whoa.
Cool environment.
Highly recommend. It is unbelievable. There's nothing. Me and my brother-in-law talk about it all the time, my wife's brother. There's nothing like that atmosphere because you have college kids and like the bands and the pageantry and the team spirit of like a college in a college town and the amount of people that travel. I mean, you got 60,000 plus people that go to these schools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's just so much.
Maybe that's what I need is like that environment. Because
it's crazy.
I've been to high school games. I've never been to. I'm trying to think. I've been to college.
These big implication college games.
Yeah,
is wild.
Or even a program with probably the atmosphere.
The bands will play back and forth.
Yeah,
and like they're in their own little competition, and then the student sections are in their competition. It's wild.
That's like I really into soccer.
I really
yes, because you have all the hooligans or whatever they're
called
when I lived soccer where they travel.
When I lived in England,
Yeah.
you know, I had no interest at all in soccer, and then you go to one of those games,
It's
especially
wild.
in a country like England where it's so much a part of their culture.
Yeah.
You go there and there's just hooliganism.
Don't they fight in the street before the game?
Yeah, they all drink. Every
crazy.
pub on every street.
That's how a college football game is.
I
Just
could see that.
You experienced it. That's why I love when we both went to school in Montana. Grizz Cat.
Mm-hmm. It was awesome.
The best atmosphere you could ever ask for a football game.
Did you go to games when you went to school up there?
Yeah, I watched a lot of them. Some of the games I watched on the mountain. Climbed up Mount Sentinel. Yeah, and you could watch it from way up there.
Your BTXs.
I only watched 2 games. I only watched 2 games in my 4 years, and it was two of the Cat Grizz games.
Gotcha.
Can't believe you said Cats first and then Grizz.
Grizz
Cat. Come on.
Whatever. C comes before G.
So that's a good start to the new year, right?
Yeah, it's great. It was
Well,
awesome.
better start to New Year. Because we got Wyoming elk coming up.
We do.
Now we're like truly in it. Truly in the game, the gambling game.
Yep. I've been buried super deep in Wyoming elk.
Let's give people a little description here, because it's hard to put in words how long these application strategies articles are when we're on the website, because we don't have page numbers. How many pages, Trail, is your Google Doc that you sent me for Wyoming elk app strategy?
Yeah, so usually when I write one of those and then I send it to Brady.
I love the note at the top you always give me.
Yeah, I always try to include a note because I know that he's about to have the most enjoyable next couple days trying to put this thing. Edit, and then put it live on the front end. So he's got to add all the hot links. Is that what it's called? Hot link?
Hyperlink.
Hot link sounds good. That sounds like a term they probably use in the 90s. But
hot take right now is a big thing, so we'll call it a hot link.
We'll call it a hot link. But yeah, I know that Brady's going to have to hot link every individual unit and any kind of draws or any link that's like apply here, anything like that. So yeah, I usually include a note that says like, hey, have fun. I know you're about to be up for 48 hours straight. But 19 pages.
19 pages.
Yeah.
And speaking of those links, I grabbed one of our old, I think it was a Wyoming app strategy from years prior, and I was like, I just did a quick Command F when I was in like the source code trying to see how many actual hyperlinks there were. I think one app strategy had over 350 links.
Yeah.
In that app strategy. So that's how like in depth these things are to like be able to send you different unit profiles.
I've said it before on multiple podcasts, multiple different times. I personally think those are the best gift to Insider, or those application strategies. 100%. I honestly think. I mean, we live and breathe this shit every single day, but you can't stay up on it. This is like, reminds me when I was in college and you'd always get you would hope to God that the book you were supposed to read had the
Cliff Notes.
The Cliff Notes of it. I can't remember the website. Another old age thing. Can't remember the exact website, but you would pray that there was like the Cliff Notes version where you got the full takeaway, but you didn't have to like dive into the book yourself.
You're stressing me out. You're taking me back. I'm having post-traumatic stress.
When I would go to the underground college site and the book I'm having to read wasn't on there, it was like
panic,
straight stomach ache. You like couldn't get over it. You know what I mean? But that's what it's what it reminds me of, because you don't have to dive into the proclamations and start doing all this bullshit that's really tough to do.
And have you ever tried to use Wyoming's state website?
Oh God, it's terrible.
It's hard for a state to keep up with all that stuff, but it's hard to navigate their state websites and try to find all that information.
Great people, great opportunity.
And I would actually say theirs is one of the better to be. I mean,
might be.
They're all bad.
That's to say they're all bad. And I would say that Wyoming's is a little bit better than some of the others. I mean, some of them are really rough to find information that you're looking for.
But man, these I really do think they're the best value for this time of year Insider product.
Wait, what was that quote you told me earlier today? You were like, if you don't read or use any other tool on the website right now and just read this app strategy, you'd be 100% golden.
Yeah, I was telling you, I just did like a little video, like a commonly asked questions that we get for Wyoming to try to help people a little more easily navigate it. I pretty much everything that you would need to know to apply in Wyoming and even pick a hunt and unit is within that application strategy article.
Yeah, from the general hunts to the limit entry.
Yeah, general limit entry. I mean, there's giant tables in here that break down the general season units by percentage of branch antler bull harvested, percentage of harvest, bull to cow ratios, populations. I get asked a lot like, where do I find population information? I have to go into individual state like job completion reports or whatever, hidden away little file that they have tucked away to pull out those populations. But we incorporate all that into tables. And it's all part of the piece of the puzzle. I mean, when you look at things like trophy potential, harvest success, percentage of branch antler bulls that are harvested, population, that's all a piece of the puzzle to help you put together like a final choice.
And that's why we always say to use every single tool on Insider. And that's why these app strategies to me, though, are gold. I mean, how many, when it comes, it's going to be hard to, you probably never kept track of it, but what do you think hour-wise and level of effort it took you to put one of those together? It's been a long time since I've written one, so I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean,
it's weeks worth of work.
I would say it's a solid week at least.
Yeah.
And then above and beyond that, a lot of it is, like intuition and things that I've learned over the years. So it's like I'm also pulling in a base that maybe a lot of people wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Like I have a pretty good working understanding of how the allocations are broke down, what that means. I have a really good understanding of like what are the premier hunts, what does have the best trophy potential. So a lot of that I'm coming in with, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a heavy lift. I know that when I roll into like December through May, I'm like full tilt. I'm working long days.
Yeah, this is when we burn the midnight oil.
Yeah.
And it's a fun time of year, but it's also long hours.
That's what I appreciate is that you have all this carryover knowledge. I do not. Like what I'm focused on day to day is like not in that stuff. That's what I'm talking about having these be such like the cheat sheet of what Insider is, right? So you bring all that into it, and then I get to siphon it off.
Yeah, and it's a pretty narrow group of people, I would say, that,
for sure,
that have that. And I don't know how you get it other than just like I've been really fortunate that I've worked, you know, jobs like this where my job is essentially to do this. So instead of working a 40-hour week somewhere else, you know, doing tires or oil or whatever, you know, this is my job. I'm looking at this kind of stuff day in, day out. So, yeah.
And if you're not a current insider, you guys definitely need to sign up. And we got a little promo code for you. Use promo code PODCAST when you sign up for Insider. You're going to get 50 points back to the GOHUNT Gear Shop. So what is that, Trail? That's $50 back in your wallet to spend on gear this upcoming hunting season.
Yep.
And everyone loves gear.
And again, like we always say, you get access to every single tool on Insider. You don't just get draw odds. You don't just get filtering 2.0. You don't just get point
the
tracker.
application strategies. You get it all.
You get it all. All the Insider only. And we have even other articles that are Insider only besides for app strategy that are super in-depth that we lock down to paid members only because of that juicy stuff that we don't really want to give out for free. It's like the secret stuff that will really benefit if you read word for word. There's a lot of little hidden gems when you read these articles word for word and pick out some good information. So promo code PODCAST. Sign up for Insider right now. Application season's here.
Yep.
Is that a shameless plug or is that like a good plug?
I don't think it's shameless.
I don't think it's. I mean, it's
shameless plug.
Yeah, we live it every day, but we want people to be successful. We want people to put tags in their pocket. We want people to experience some great adventures, and this is how you start.
I mean, here's the deal. Regardless of whether I worked here or not, and even before I worked here, I paid for memberships other places, anywhere I could find to get the information that I needed. I did. I paid for it, right?
Yep.
And I did it because it's important to me. And then also, like, what's your time worth? Like,
That's where I'm at.
I don't know that many people that have got 40 hours, 80 hours to really sit down and like build out a complete spreadsheet for themselves to like do all the research themselves.
Especially when you're doing multiple states.
Oh,
like that's where the biggest time suck comes in. Multiple states and trying to do it. You do it the best of your ability. It's like really hard to actually make a plan back in the day.
Yeah.
And I always say too, like there was times when you lived in Montana too. Like I hunted in some of the shittiest places possible because that's all I knew. It was always just I'm gonna just go out my back door and hunt. There was so many other places I could have went.
Yeah,
with way better animals, way better access, way better country that I would have been a much more lethal hunter. But I was just stuck in my ways.
If we knew now, if I was a college student in Montana now,
and
I wasn't, GoHunt was separate of us. And I was just a student that could use it. Oh my God!
Yeah. One other thing I would say too is
that would have been awesome.
Everything's in one place.
Yeah.
Like we have maps now, right? Yep. We've got online, web. You can pull up your computer, pull it up on your laptop as part of your Insider account. You can also use it on your phone as an app. I didn't realize until the last couple of years how much I'm actually using maps even this time of year in my application process. And I think it becomes really important in a state like Wyoming where you've got some silly, I'll call it stupid. It's a stupid rule where a non-resident can't hunt a designated wilderness area without a guide or a resident to go with them. That becomes really important because there's some really good hunts that you could draw with very few points, but that's the case because you can't do it without a guide in Wyoming.
And the silliest thing is I can go and hike all summer in wilderness area. I can go fly fishing in there. I can go take some photos in a wilderness area, but I can't hunt in there.
Yeah.
It becomes unsafe when I have a deer tag.
Such a weird rule.
I think it's a stupid rule.
Such a stupid rule.
I entirely agree.
I've been like really blatant about that. I
try to hammer as much as I can.
Yeah, I think it's terrible that
couldn't agree more.
But you can't hunt public land within a designated wilderness area, which is a Forest Service designation. I can't hunt that as a non-resident. It's really, when you put it in the grand scheme of things, like I can go to Alaska.
Yeah.
I could go to Alaska 4-5 years ago, and I can hunt moose over the counter. I can go out and I can hunt. I can have a grizzly bear encounter where a bear literally charges us. My buddy shoots it in defense of life.
Yep.
That was a wild story.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we shoot that bear in defense of life at like 18 yards.
On a full charge.
On a full charge, yeah, full tilt. And that's okay. But
Yep.
I can't go to Wyoming and hunt as a non-resident. It
Yep.
does that in a wilderness area, which really bugs me.
Yeah.
That's a personal gripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
So that's why maps, though, are powerful, because if you just looked at one picture and just looked at filtering 2.0, for example, or draw odds, and be like, wow, I can draw this tag right now, and you don't look at where the wilderness is, you might be drawing a tag that's completely wilderness, and you now have to hire an outfitter.
Yep, exactly.
That's why using both, all the tools at once, maps and filtering 2.0, or maps and draw odds.
Yep.
And he said it's all in one place. You can easily just do all your research right there.
Yeah.
It becomes really important, too, when you're considering, the different types of hunts. So, for example, if I'm looking at an antelope hunt, public land is really important.
Very important.
Super important. I mean, it's everything, right? When you're hunting antelope in Wyoming, and I mean the draw.
Antelope anywhere, really.
Antelope anywhere.
A proper public to private ratio and opportunity of where those animals are going to use. It's the only thing that matters.
The other thing I use it for all the time is like season based. So if I'm archery elk hunting, I need to know where the public land, because there might be a unit. If you look at a unit profile, it might say 35% public land. I might pull up the map and look at where the public land is within that unit, and it might be Forest Service at upper elevations where I'm typically to find elk during that time of year on an archery hunt. So it becomes really important there, because that might be a hunt that I would skip over if I just simply looked at the percentage.
The percentage might scare you away.
Yeah, percentage might scare me away. But if I looked at it on a map and I knew where that public land was, at that point, maybe I can hunt it. Or you might go the other side also on a late hunt. You might have elk that I can give you examples. I mean, you've got 34, 120 right there in Wyoming that's just kind of off the south end of the Bighorns. Those are late season hunts primarily. Public land becomes really important because those elk are migrating out of the Bighorns down to lower elevations, and they can still be really good hunts, but you absolutely have to know where public land is.
Yep.
So
I
use maps all the time. Shameless plug for maps.
Absolutely. Actually, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's also an acquaintance of mine who's also in the hunting industry and has a thing going on. And he was asking me, him and I were talking about our two businesses, and he's like, oh, so your big accomplishment this year was maps, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, essentially it's maps, but getting back to the other point that you guys are talking about, that it's all now in one place, him and I were talking, I'm like, maps was a big accomplishment for us to like fully pull it off to the level we pulled it off to. I said, but really maps is a commodity, right? Maps, you can get maps, paper maps, tech maps, all this stuff from a lot of different places. Maps are a commodity in my opinion, right? You can get it in a lot of different places. I said our biggest accomplishment this year was getting the entire product tied together. So like all the way through from the desktop maps to the Insider platform, Hunt Planner, holding all of this together, which we can get into more of this Hunt Planner thing, and then obviously carrying all that information. There's no wasted effort of work, research, information. Now getting into the field, it all transfers into now the commodity of a map, but it is our maps aren't necessarily a commodity because it holds the power of the rest of the product throughout the year. And I think that's what I am very happy with, proud of, that we were able to pull off this year, was getting the entire product as a whole tied together, where now there's no wasted effort, which, just being honest, I'm an honest and transparent person. There was before, right? Like you do all this work and then there was this cliff where it fell off and it was just left behind, right? Now it's having it fully put together, which is maps was the missing piece, that like navigational map aspect. But we didn't want to lose the work that started now, in September. So I think that's everything being in one place now for the first time in this product's history. That's what I feel like is we reference it as maps, right? But I think it's Hunt Planner is the core to hold Insider to this map research and then navigations, right? So it was interesting to have that conversation because I put it in perspective for myself too. Because, maps it was a big deal for us to pull off, right? But, there's so much more on the back end that, is a bigger deal, in my opinion.
And like I said, I didn't realize, I guess I hadn't thought about it, but I hadn't realized how much I'm using maps this time of year.
Are you starting to even drop any waypoints or make some polygons and stuff like that? I always hit that point, too, where I'm like, looking at a unit, like you said, looking at the public land, and I'm like, that actually looks pretty good. I want to mark that really quick because I might be jumping over something else or maybe look at a different unit, but I want to circle that right now so I have that as a future reference. So you can keep just dropping different little things and create a little hunt folder and just call it your whatever, Wyoming elk, e-scouting thing, and just start dropping a bunch of content in there. It might not pay off right away, but maybe down the road you look back and like, wow, I circled that for a reason. Look down in your notes of why you made that polygon. Like, oh yeah, that was an area I checked out that interested me right away.
Yeah, it's been interesting for me because, like I said, we've even had internal meetings. I've had Porter say to me, like, how much are you using maps this time of year? And I'm like, it's kind of a seasonal thing. I'm really only using it from, August to December. Reality, that's not the case. I mean, if I'm really honest on how much I'm looking at it right now within my own application strategy and then also within writing application strategy articles, I'm using maps a lot.
And I think that's the case for a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't know the power of maps during app season. Like, it really opens the door to seeing a bigger picture and really getting intimate with that unit that you're going to potentially burn a lot of points on.
Yep.
What kind of so you're working on Wyoming elk?
Yep.
What are some of the big things that you have noticed this year that maybe is worth mentioning right now? I don't want to give everything away, but
sure,
give me some little secrets. A few.
Yeah. So I would say it's Wyoming, and I would say any state. I mean, we talked about it before on the podcast, but pretty much every state is always evaluating their herds and management, and they're also evaluating social, management. What do people want to see in a hunt? How many people are applying and where they're applying? And they're trying to adjust their strategy to make the best use of the resource, right? To like give people opportunity to hunt, but then also provide people a hunt that's reflective of the number of years that they've been applying, right? So there's been Wyoming in particular, it seems like there's been lots and lots of talk this year about potential changes coming down the pipeline.
And those could have some big impacts.
They could have some big impacts, yeah. So Wyoming has this Wyoming task force, which was put together in conjunction with Game and Fish. And essentially they were trying to look at some ideas to address some of the issues that were, coming down the pipeline, things like point creep. It's interesting too. I find that in Idaho also, it does seem to be this underlying current of residents of any given state not necessarily loving the attention that state is getting from non-residents. And we could go way down a rabbit hole in talking about that, whether it's right, wrong. It's indifferent. But it does seem to be that there's this current of residents of any given state that are kind of upset about the number of non-residents.
Yeah, they have resident pride.
Yeah, right.
They live there all year. They pay taxes all year.
They hunt it.
They go through all the nasty winters where we just come there for a short period of time.
And hunt. Yep. So there were a lot of, initially when this task force was put together and a lot of the proposals that they put out, I felt like were kind of aimed at that underlying current, that it does feel like, there's a little bit of angst there among residents.
Do you recall off the top of your head, are those people in the task force elected, or are they just... How does that kind of work to get on the task force, to recall?
I don't know off the top
I
of my
looked
head.
it up before.
I should know this. And they have a website, and you can go to it, and it's kind of interesting. They have monthly meetings. You can go through and look at the notes and the proposals, and you can kind of see them developing over time. Initially, they had some proposals to like make it similar to New Mexico in identifying hunts as quality or high quality, high demand, those types of hunts. They looked at doing some waiting periods on those types of hunts. And all that's probably worth talking at a future date, depending on where things go in the future. I would say probably the most important ones at this time frame are that they are recommending, it looks like for me, not for 2023, but for 2024, going to a regionalized general structure. So they're looking at making 13 regions within the state of Wyoming for general season elk.
So they're trying to mimic what the deer is right now.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
The general deer.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, if you draw a general season permit, or if a resident, buys a general season permit in Wyoming for elk, they can hunt any or all of the general season units in the state of Wyoming, which I think there's 51. That's probably the biggest one. And like I said, for this year, there isn't really a whole lot of change on the books. I think it's going to be pretty similar. I mean, we could could talk about moose, sheep, and goat, and they did go to a 90-10 split there for residents versus non-resident permits, and that is going to do some things this year because it may eliminate the ability for there to be a random permit available for some of those hunts. They also are looking at the future converting the point system for those species to a bonus point system versus a preference point system. Because I think what they're seeing that, like, hey, if we keep this a preference point system and we also reduce the number of permits available to non-residents,
people are bouncing.
Non-residents are going to bounce. But if we make that a bonus point system and we allocate that randomly, but we give you a weighted, chance in the draw because of bonus points, then maybe potentially people will stay in the system and give you their application.
Yep, and then those people too who are at the top of the list are also going to be upset about that change. You're never going to solve it for everyone, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, it sucks. There aren't that many people for those, at least for moose and sheep, like at that top echelon, so you're potentially only screwing over a few people versus the masses. But that's a big one. And like I said, for 2023, they're really not, you're not going to see many changes. Probably the biggest one I would say is preemptively thinking about your strategy, especially when it comes to the general season elk hunt. So, it may take, this year I looked at it, it may take 3.5 to 5 points in the special draw. Probably in the regular draw, it's going to take, 4.5 to 5 plus to draw a regular general season permit. But with the potential of them breaking that into regions in 2024, what does that mean for you this year?
This year, yeah.
So what it means for me is I probably want to hunt it this year. If I've got the points to draw a general season elk tag and I'm within that range of points, I think this year is probably the year to capitalize, burn those points, and go on a general season elk hunt. Because next year, if they go to that region by region, what's that going to do to people's applications? I mean, you definitely have regions of the state that have more public land, more elk.
So more people are going to flock to those.
So more people are going to apply for those as non-residents because that's the areas that they can hunt, right? That they're going to want to hunt. So I could potentially see regions of the state of Wyoming increasing point creep.
Yes.
And you may have some regions of the state where it might get easier to draw a general season elk tag because it's limited by private land, access, and or the number of elk that exist within that unit.
So you could maybe almost assume then, based on this information you're telling us right now, and information that might be coming, some of the hunts even this year could become more point creep because people might be trying to dump their points right now in anticipation for that.
Just the limited entry hunts. Yeah, could potentially. I mean, in my opinion, based on the number of proposals I saw come out of that Wyoming task force, I would suggest you burn your points. Go to Wyoming and hunt if you got the points.
And that's my dilemma right now too, because I have enough points to jump in. For general.
Well, you're an elk guy now too. So.
You are an elk guy.
Yeah, I'm an elk guy. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, of course. I just figure, since you're an elk guy now.
All elk all the time.
Yeah. So that's something I got to weigh in as well. Like, what am I going to do? Should I do it this year? And
same boat. Exact same boat.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got enough points between me and my oldest boy. He's 17. I've been building him points. This is the last year. That's one thing I will say. I mean, if you've got kids, you should definitely consider Wyoming because they don't give you a cost break on the application fee per se, but they do give you a cost break for the regular draw, at least for the license itself. So this is kind of his last year that I can pay a lesser price, and so I think I'm going to try to cash in his and my points this year and go on a hunt together and hunt elk. But yeah, I would definitely. I mean, looking at it, it is what it is, but I would say if you got the points, I would definitely consider going to Wyoming this year if you got the points.
And again, not to keep talking about app strategies, but that's why an app strategy like this is valuable because you're talking about changes that are becoming the future, which then if you're just looking at filtering 2.0 and draw odds, you're not going to see that bigger picture of what's coming and how that's going to impact your plan for the future. That's why you have to read these word for word. Can't say that enough.
It's a look into the future. I mean, granted, it's a little bit through a straw, but it's a look into the future of point creep.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this is a proposal at this point. It would have to be, approved and go into law in the state of Wyoming. So I can't say absolutely guarantee this is going to happen. But of all the proposals that they've put forward, this is the one that seems to be holding the most weight. That's carrying forward, month after month after month. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it implemented in 2024. Yeah. So interesting, right?
Yeah,
it is interesting.
Another thing I kind of want to touch on a little bit that we've talked about before, and you brought it up earlier today, is there's a lot of hunts that you noticed that the regular draw was better than the special draw.
As far as odds go. Yeah.
Explain that a little bit, just for people to understand.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. So to hear it explained would be nice.
Yeah. So in Wyoming, you've got 2 pools of permits that exist for non-residents that they can apply for, essentially, in that full price draw. And you've got regular and special, and they're the exact same license. Should you draw it, it's the same hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you draw 61 regular season type 1 tag and I draw it in the special draw, it's the same tag. We're hunting the same area.
Yep.
The difference is in the special, to go into the special draw, it's an additive cost. So it's $1,283 versus $707 to go into the regular draw.
Big price jump.
Yeah, I think I'm not a math guy, but I think
it's almost $500.
$586. I think I want to say. Just kidding.
I would just say more.
There you go.
Yeah. So
we're not math guys, Renzo. We've always
definitely not a math guy.
Yeah. So essentially,
we'll have to call Scott Mason for that one.
Yeah. You're working under the premise that there are fewer people that are willing to pay a higher price for the license to go into the special draw. So in lieu of paying an added cost, you're getting better odds because there's fewer people that are willing to apply. And so as you brought that up, I've kind of always noticed that there are like, certain hunts where the odds for the regular and the special draw are very similar. The same number of points to draw. And those are typically for the hunts that are really high demand hunts. They're good hunts, the 56, 59, those type 1. Those hunts that are like trophy areas, right? And that makes sense because there are more people that are willing to pay a higher price. So the odds for those are pretty similar, but when I look down through the odds and I wrote the application strategy, I'm actually finding in a lot of cases, in a lot of hunts that are kind of even mid-tier, hunts, those kind of mid-range point levels, the odds are even better in the regular than they are in the special. And I don't know how to predict that.
Yeah, because you don't know if it's going to jump back this year because whatever reason, but
it's all in how people apply. I think if anything, it shows that there are more people that want to go hunting, and they're willing to pay $1,283 to go on an elk hunt in Wyoming, specifically because it's a great elk state, right?
Yep.
So that's why it's imperative, though, that when you decide to apply, whether you're looking at the regular or the special draw and where to spend your money, it's really imperative to look at the odds between the 2 different hunts to decide if it actually is a justification to pay the higher price. It may not be.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a guy and I'm sitting on 17 points and I look at the odds for a top tier hunt and they're the same or they're better in a regular draw than they are the special draw, why go into the special draw?
Yeah, that's literally all that money you could spend on gas to get to that state.
Yeah. It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to evaluate the odds for both the regular and the special. It used to be that you could kind of be like, if I apply in the special, I have better odds overall. Yeah. That's not the case. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily the case for every hunt. So,
which is interesting. It's so counterintuitive to just, if you're not paying attention to that kind of stuff and not having to look into the data a little bit, like it's just weird to think.
Another thing I want you to touch on too, we get this question a lot, and people are jumping into filtering 2.0 or draw odds. They're like, "Hey, I just want an archery hunt, and I can't see odds for my archery hunt. Mm-hmm. What's the deal with that in Wyoming?"
Yeah, so Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Yeah, it's Wyoming. Man, I tell you what, every state is so different.
It's so weird. So weird.
So different. But Wyoming breaks their hunts out in what they call types. So you got a type 1. Type 2, those are rifle tags. Type 2s might vary by the season date or the portion of a unit that you can hunt. A type 9 is an archery-only permit. Not every unit has an archery-only hunt. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at filtering 2.0 and you hit the drop-down box for select season and you hit, archery, limited entry, or the type 9, you're only going to see those units where the archery-only season is available, those units.
Yep.
Not every unit has a Type 9 hunt. If you apply and draw a Type 9, you can only hunt archery for that season in that unit that you draw. But then a lot of the hunts, Type 1, Type 2s, if you draw that permit, you can actually buy over-the-counter an archery stamp, which for non-residents I think is like $72. You just buy that. And most of those have an archery season, and you can go and you can bow hunt. And if you don't fill your permit, you can return and hunt with a rifle during the season that you drew.
Yep. So that's why if you're looking for draw odds on there, you're actually looking for what would be a rifle hunt.
Yep.
And then you buy the archery stamp.
And you buy the archery stamp.
Yeah.
Which honestly is awesome.
It is awesome.
Very nice. That like it's an awesome opportunity to add on to a drawn tag. That you got 2 whacks at it, right? You can go hunt it with a bow, gain all this knowledge, all this stuff, and then return with a rifle if you're not successful. Just the way that it works is pretty mind-boggling.
And you talked last time about being, using multiple weapons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say in Wyoming, if you've got 10 to 17 points and you're going to burn them on a hunt, make that your hunt for the year and go out and bow hunt it. And if you don't fill your permit, go back and rifle hunt it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
awesome.
Make the absolute most of that permit.
Mm-hmm. So, instead of doing 2 different hunts in 2 different states, make that your sole hunt.
Yeah, make that your hunt. Yeah,
give it the full go.
Go hunt the hell out of it.
And then if you're not successful, then you always got the backup plan.
Yeah, and I would say specifically when in regard to general season, like that general season elk license, there are far fewer people that are bow hunting it. I mean, it's becoming more popular, certainly, but there aren't a lot of people, not nearly as many people as there are in other states where you've got a designated archery hunt. They draw a permit. They're going hunting. If you draw a general season tag in Wyoming, there's a lot of people that are just like, I'm just going to go rifle hunt. I'm a rifle hunter. I'm going to go rifle hunt. There's far more rifle hunters than there are bow hunters. So, that's a great opportunity to draw a rifle license, but then show up and hunt it during the archery season and have far fewer people in the field than you will in the rifle hunt.
Yeah, I think call it a hunt scouting trip.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you got the ability to kill if you have the right opportunity, but at the same time, you're just gaining tons of knowledge.
Man, the dates are awesome.
They are awesome.
Typically you get like the 1st through the 30th of September during the archery hunt. There is some differences in the various units. I mean, you might, but for the most part, you're getting the heart of the rut.
Yeah,
to bow hunt. Which archery elk hunting is the best. Anyway.
I think people did the same thing too with like those mule deer tags. Not a lot of people go for that archery hunt.
Oh, far fewer.
Far fewer.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that way for deer as well. And I mean, and maybe that's worth getting into. We could talk about the different species and how they're allocated in Wyoming too. But I mean, right now we're mostly talking about elk because that deadline is January 31st at midnight for non-residents. Antelope and deer, that application doesn't come up until May, so the end of May.
Yep.
And then,
so if you're looking for the app strategies for those species, we're going to tailor those more towards that month before that app deadline. That way we can get all the best information, what the winner did, all the, everything that you need. We could release it right now, but it's kind of better to wait because you don't need to jump in your app right now and apply for deer. And
here's a weird thing about Wyoming in regard to that. Right now, like Wyoming Game and Fish hasn't released their proclamation yet, even for elk. Typically, they'll release it later in the year, even after the deadline.
I've always wondered how that's even possible.
Yeah, it's bizarre. They have like a little section of their website called Hunt Planner, which you can kind of go through and click on each individual unit and get some details. But for the most part, they're not going to approve rules and regs until that end of April commission meeting. If you apply in Wyoming, you do have up until I think May 7th or 8th to modify your application if you want to. But yeah, I mean it's difficult. I don't understand how that can be the case, but it is.
Either. It's never made sense to me.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah. Do you guys apply for other species in Wyoming?
Everything except for like moose and sheep.
Moose and sheep.
I got out a long time ago. I never started because I looked at my chances. And I was like,
I started before I knew, but then once I figured it out, I'm like, yeah, okay.
I was too far behind the curve.
It's just dead money. Me
too.
Yeah.
I mean, you did have to. I mean, previously you had to buy the preference point if you applied, which is $150. They eliminated that. You still have to front. That's one thing about Wyoming is you do have to front the cost of the licenses. So you're going to put that on a credit card and sit on it for several months until they actually do the draw. And then if you're unsuccessful, they refund you. So that's kind of a hurdle for a lot of people. Typically there were like maybe 4 to 5 units for sheep that they're going to allocate a random tag. So essentially you were putting in for one of those in hopes that you might draw a random tag. If they went to a bonus point system, would that suck you back in?
I don't know now that I'm so far behind the curve, though. I mean,
it would for me.
It would.
You'd go back
in?
It
would for me.
Because now you have a chance.
Yeah.
It's like buying a raffle ticket.
Exactly. And immediately what jumps out to me is like, there is a chance now. Somebody's going to draw these tags, right? And if you look at Nevada, I mean, my home state, I'm very familiar with the bonus point program in Nevada. If you look at like the majority of the sheep tags here, I mean, there's so many drawn at the 4 to 8 point level. Just that's where the masses are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Of point holders. Like why not me? Right. So if there is that chance, I'll jump back in.
And that's why I think they might do it, because they're going to get more app money.
Yep.
It's going to benefit the wildlife a little bit more. So it might.
Yeah. I just need to know there's something. And like, you know, I'm a little tainted and biased because I drew that New Mexico tag. So like it is possible. Like I cannot believe I drew that tag, but hey,
you did.
Somebody, if you put your name in the hat, like you got a chance. And if I know that, then yes, I'll jump back in.
Yeah, for mountain goat
and Rockies, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rockies right now.
That's the one you need.
Well, it's the one I need for sure. It's the one everybody's going to need if they're chasing the slam. But like, man, the opportunity for Rockies right now is rough.
Yeah.
Super rough. So if there is just that slight chance, then I'll jump in.
Yeah. I would say, so like for me, I drew a mountain goat tag in Utah, and I always kind of considered like, oh, that's going to be my mountain goat hunt, you know, and I did the damn thing. It didn't live up to the hype that I'd hoped that it would, you know. I didn't get to hunt that the way I think I wanted to, ultimately.
The snowstorm, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
you're waiting for the hair.
It was just a shit year, man. It was a great year for me personally as far as hunting goes, but I stacked way too much.
Yeah.
Like I had an elk tag.
It's tough.
I went to Alaska and hunted moose. I came back. I jumped off the plane. I went on a mountain goat hunt in the Uintas late, which like end of October.
Yeah.
And
I remember you wanted it late though, right? Because
I did want it late, but I wanted like
the hide?
Yeah, I did want that. You're right, but I
remember you saying
that.
And
I
like,
did,
oh,
but
God.
I just wanted like
late October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted elevations.
Yeah.
And you went to
13,000 foot. Yeah. I wanted like. I guess it's neither here nor there. Like whatever happened, but like ultimately it didn't yield the experience that I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Like I was hoping to go in and like have 10 solid days to like bow hunt,
sure.
you know, see goats day in day out, put stalks on, like that kind of hunt, right? So, and I killed a great goat, and I'm pumped with the way it went. But
he's a rifle guy though.
Yeah, I did.
Big rifle guy.
Big rifle guy.
I did. Yeah, I was like, give me that damn rifle. Yeah, first time I saw that goat in a spot where it wasn't going to fall off a 1,000-foot ledge, I was like, give me that rifle.
Smart.
But Wyoming is a state. It's a random draw, so totally random. No point system associated with mountain goats in Wyoming at all. So for me, that is a state that's definitely on my radar for mountain goats, even though I do have to front the cost of the license.
Yeah. Give it a retry.
Give it a rego. Yeah, that's one of those that's like you might as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, that is one of the hunts I have always wanted to do, and I
never done a goat hunt.
And I would hope to do multiple. I would hope to. I mean, they're pretty unreal animals.
Let's go on a goat hunt.
I would love to. I don't know how we're gonna pull it off, but
they are such a cool animal.
They're awesome.
Yeah, so I would say definitely Wyoming for
I'll
goat.
tell you what piqued my interest in mountain goats more than anything is I was in BC a long time ago on a stone sheep hunt. Went up there with my dad. It was a long time ago. This is back before stone sheep were like this huge thing like they are today. And I saw a pack of wolves chase a nanny and kid goat kind of down this, like, I don't know, this, how you'd explain it, like this knife edge kind of wrapped around this just straight face and then down this massive chute. And I watched that nanny and kid goat go through there, and I'm like, holy shit. That was awesome.
Yeah,
like we all thought they were dead to rights. We were sitting there spotting scopes watching it. It's only 1,000 yards off from where we were. We were trying to get on these sheep.
You had front row seats.
Front row seats. Had it all right in my spotter the whole time. All of us were sitting there saying like, "Oh man, they're dead."
Yeah.
Like there's no chance. And the way they went off this knife edge and then across this face, I'm like, God damn, that was awesome.
How many wolves were there?
6.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so cool to see.
It was awesome. It was incredible. And like as the nanny, I don't know why, you might know why they do this, but they'll lay in that dirt and they'll like paw out these
make a
things
bed.
but it's steep. Like,
oh yeah,
it was wildly steep where she was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't even like, you see a deer or elk paw when they're standing straight up. She was laying on her side
pawing.
It was wild.
Yeah.
So while she was doing that, these wolves are coming up and over right on top of her. We're like, man, this is done.
It's crazy.
Right out. See you later. And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, Wyoming's got some wild country for goats.
Always had my attention since I saw that.
Yep.
Did you ever apply for bison? Just getting totally off topic here, but
no.
In Wyoming?
I used to. The cost is very high, at this
yeah.
point. I mean, you're talking $5,000
Yeah.
plus. It's a random draw, totally random, and every year, there's a good opportunity to harvest bison. It does seem like less and less those bison are coming out of the park to hunt. But I would say for sure, if you've got
you attribute that to wolves in the park?
I don't know. It's probably a lot of it's weather related, and then. I don't know exactly
Global warming.
Global warming. Yeah. Yeah.
According to the day after tomorrow, the world actually gets colder.
Yeah.
Man,
I've thrown out 2 movie quotes. You guys,
dude, it's been plenty cold in Cedar, man. It's been cold.
It's been cold down
here.
here.
We got a lot
too.
of snow. We got
crazy.
6 inches 2 nights ago. It's been cold.
I do apply for bison there though.
I never have. I was just asking your opinion because I really want to do a bison hunt, and that cost is kind of scaring me.
It is. That's a crazy number.
It's a high cost, but if you can float the money, it is random, and you might as well apply.
And in my opinion, it's the American heritage of hunting.
For sure.
Like
that is the animal. Like that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just want a bison coat and jacket. I want to walk around the street and be like, look at me, I got a fucking bison jacket.
You got the beard and the hair for it.
Their hides are heavier than hell. But I want the skull, just the bison symbol. I mean, that's what, for me, like when you go back in the hunting heritage of the Americas and all that stuff, Native American, it's like, that's it. You know what I mean? So I really want to do a true Western bison hunt. Yep. And if there is the opportunity, like I said about if they went to bonus points with a sheep, like I just need to know there's that one little chance.
And there is. I mean, it's a random tag. The biggest hurdle for bison is the price tag.
Yeah.
Like you got to put up a big chunk of
change.
It
returns, but you do sit on it.
It does, yeah. It's a big chunk.
And I have known some friends who've drawn some tags in Montana, and they didn't come out of the park. Like you said,
it's tough.
They really didn't. They tried to put their time in, didn't have the weather they needed. Shoot one.
That's a tough pill to swallow, to know that is a potential
limiting factor of your hunt.
My brother lives in Wyoming. He just barely texted me, and he said, hey, you probably already know this, but it'd be a good year to put in for Wyoming. Non-resident price increase for 2024. House bill 60.
So look at that. We broke some news.
I mean, I kind of knew that was coming. But it looks like a price increase as well for non-residents in 2024.
I'm going to look that up and we'll have to cover an article on that.
Yeah. So another reason I would say burn your points in Wyoming.
Yep.
Gosh, these price increases.
Hey, man. Everything's increasing price, but nobody's increasing pay. That's a really shitty spot right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, Wyoming, for me, it's a must-apply state. I mean, given everything that Wyoming offers, personally, it's my very favorite state to hunt.
I love Wyoming.
It's a phenomenal state.
Wyoming's incredible. It's an incredible state.
You got tons of open country. Yep. I mean, you've got more antelope than people, which is, they
I love that stat.
Everybody always says that.
I love that stat.
Yeah.
I've killed a lot of antelope out of Wyoming, a lot, and it's so fun.
Yeah. By far my favorite state to hunt antelope. I love elk hunting up there. I think, part of that task force, I would tell you as well, is they're looking at, they've had a non-resident quota that was set in the 80s. Herds have continued to increase. Almost every unit area of the state of Wyoming is over objective for elk. They've never had they've never had a healthier elk herd, so they are looking at lifting that cap for non-residents, which the proposals, if they break that down into general season regions, I've looked at the tag recommendation allocation. It's pretty conservative, so I don't see this significant increase in non-resident permits available. But potentially, if they do lift that cap, I mean, there's a chance that you could see some more permits for non-residents in the future. Yeah. It was really interesting when you looked at the task force justification for going to regions, kind of management. The first two was herd health and objective, management, essentially the ability to management on a localized status. And then 3 was the resident perception of hunting pressure. So that's definitely incorporated in there. But it does, lifting the cap would be good, I think, in my opinion. At least it does allow the potential for there to be more tags in the future. And they are over objective.
Success story as a whole right there.
Yeah.
Over objective is a great thing.
Yeah. One thing we haven't really talked about that I think we should is cow-calf hunting. and the reduced price hunt in Wyoming. So I get questions every year, what's this reduced price draw? So you've got the full price draw and the reduced price draw. And the reduced price draw it's a different draw. There's completely separate, different draw systems. The reduced price draw is totally random. There's no point system associated with it at all. And it's for those cow-calf hunts. So those type 6, type 7s, those are cow-calf. I think those are way underutilized, in my opinion, for a couple different reasons. One, just the opportunity to get out and go hunting.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked before about cow and calf hunting. It's fun.
It's a blast.
There's only one way to get good at killing.
Yeah, those are a riot. Those are a ton of fun. And then two, I don't know that a lot of people think about this. You might have points for a full price hunt, a bull hunt, but if you're going to burn 17 years worth of points and you're just going to show up in the unit, you've never been to it before, it could be really damn hard to hunt that and hunt it as well as, what's justified by the number of points you use to draw the permit, right?
Yep.
So I would say, and I've seen more people doing this, and all the feedback from everybody I've got that's actually done it has been totally positive. Utilize those cow-calf hunts, those type 6, type 7, reduced price. Draw one of those permits in a unit that you're considering hunting for a bull. Go out and hunt it.
Absolutely.
That makes it a scouting trip then from when you draw that bull tag.
Yeah.
Great intel.
I'm a massive believer in a hunting scouting trip. Any way you can pull that off, huge believer.
Yeah. Go out, draw the cow tag, hunt it, have a fun hunt, get the lay of the land. You know what it looks like. You know where the roads are.
Mm-hmm.
You know where the elk are. I mean, go out and have a hunt and scout for the future. So that's something I would throw out there.
That's a big tip right there that people should definitely utilize.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
If you ever have the opportunity to do that, I'm a huge believer in that.
Especially guys, like I said, who have a lot of points.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a lot of years you're burning on that one hunt, and then you're showing up there blind, in a sense. I mean, you can do a bunch of e-scouting, you can do a bunch of research, but boots on the ground when you see what that herd's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're talking about Wyoming, but that's what I've been doing in Arizona, chasing. I've been right on this point creep break for the last 3 years in this unit I'm chasing for a coos deer in Arizona. So I've hunted it over-the-counter bow for I took the last year off. But I've been hunting like crazy with a bow just to make sure it's still there and glassing up animals, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a huge believer in any time you can do something like that, that's what you got to do.
Yep. Last tip I guess I would throw out there, and then you got any other questions that you guys got, fire away. But Wyoming's an interesting state in that you've got these grandioso mountain ranges. I mean, just the typical, the epitome of, mountain country, right?
Yeah.
You also have a whole bunch of intermediate terrain, and you've got a bunch of lowland prairie type stuff. And if you look at the map for elk in Wyoming, you'll see that they still allocate pretty good number of permits in a lot of areas that you may not consider elk habitat.
Yeah.
It's because there's elk there.
Well, elk are originally a plains game.
Yeah.
So
don't cross those areas off your list just because it doesn't look like elk habitat.
Dropping them hot tips, Drew.
Yeah. I mean, their original biology is plains game animal.
Yeah.
I mean, they like it.
And I'm not going to give away units or areas, but I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, don't shy away from lowland stuff.
Don't shy away from it, and do the research. Like, dive in and look at those units. Look at the harvest statistics. Look at maps, land ownership, access. There's probably some hidden gems in there that you may be able to capitalize on with a few less points.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
So think about it.
I want to know, how are you starting to utilize our latest tool that we released? We talked about it on the last app season kickoff, Hunt Planner. How are you starting to utilize that tool right now when you're making your Wyoming elk plan?
For one, it makes it way easy. So like previously, you just had filtering 2.0, right? And you generate a map based on your filters, and you'd have all those units. And it was really hard to like conceptualize and go back and forth between those and kind of put together a hunt plan, per se, or even an application plan. The ability to visit individual units and save those to your hunt planner, it eliminates all the confusion and kind of this outlying, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, you look at it 1 week, you saw this unit, and then you went back a week later, like, I totally forgot what unit I was looking at, and I'm starting from scratch again.
Yeah.
Save a lot more time.
Yeah, it gives me the ability to put those in one spot, and I can go back and review that super easy, and I can compare statistics that are really pertinent to me making a choice in one spot.
Yep.
And I mean, if you guys are like me, I've never this is sad to say, but I've never been more scatterbrained, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
It's just because there's so much going on. I mean, I've got a phone in my pocket. I can look at social media. I've got kids texting me. I've got, I got to run one kid to a practice. I've got all these things that are hanging out there. It feels like, to me at least, I've never been like more, drawn out from just like sitting down and really putting focus time into one thing for a significant amount of time, And it just seems like there's just these situations in my day where I'll click on a unit and I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. But now I can save that.
Yep. And so if people don't know what we're really talking about, it's Hunt Planner. So it's another tool on Insider that we completed and launched for you guys that basically allows you to, like Trail says, save different seasons to a specific hunt. You can create whatever folder you want. We can do one right now for 2023 Wyoming elk. Create that little folder, and while you're running through Filtering 2.0, there'll be a little save button to the right of every season. You start tapping those save buttons as you're going through those filters. It's going to add those to that folder. You jump into your Hunt Planner. Now you can see those seasons. You can rank them, whatever order you want to rank them. Maybe your priority changes over the course of a week. Like, oh, this unit now looks better. And like we're alluding to, I'm assuming, you can add notes to all these seasons. So when Terrell thinks of something that he wants to remember about that unit, he can start jotting those little notes down. Hey, I saw this in the unit profile, or this statistic sticks out to me. Drop that little note.
Yep.
And then just basically create that hunt plan.
Yep.
For the future.
This is that core I was speaking to earlier. Like, this is the core of what the entire product now being connected will run off of.
Yep.
It's a huge deal for the product as a whole for exactly all of this stuff we're talking about and the no wasted effort that I was speaking to.
Yep. And then once you have all those seasons saved, you might have had a bunch of different filter criteria in Filtering 2.0. You had public land at this, you had draw odds at that, you had trophy potential at that. When you save those seasons over there, it's going to be a little hyperlink underneath there. You can tap that hyperlink. It's going to take you right back to those same
settings.
Exact settings you had. So no longer have to, what did I have to find those results?
It was driving us crazy not having this. Yeah. Right? I mean, now that it's there, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and if you're just listening and it sounds confusing, you may not be aware, but we put all of our podcasts up on our YouTube channel. So we're going to drop some video, some examples of this, what we're talking about.
Yep.
So jump over to YouTube, scroll forward to this point in the podcast, or just watch it on YouTube, and you can kind of see some examples of how this is working.
Yeah. We'll have some articles and stuff on it too.
Yeah.
Yep. We're working on an article release.
Good job.
Yeah, I got a video I'm working on too, basically walk through exactly how to use it. I have hypothetical hunts that I'm looking at. They're not exactly hunts.
Are they actually yours, the ones that you're actually, or is this going to be just an example?
Just an example. So don't be taking this too far. Like,
is this a propaganda war where you actually do a real one, so then the rest of the public's like, there's no way.
There's no way that's
do a real one. Yeah. Drop a real one in there. Yeah, drop a real one.
And everyone will be like, there's no way.
He's giving out all this stuff.
Be an Easter egg.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So you guys listening, it's going to be a real one, but everyone else is going to be a fake one. And
yep.
Only podcast listeners get that hidden gem.
No, it's having this all connected now it's huge, man. It's been driving us crazy for so long. We knew we needed it, obviously, but other priorities, and you got to get through some other shit. So now we're finally there.
Yep. So just to wrap up, January 31st for elk, non-residents in Wyoming. Residents can apply all the way through May, end of May. Moose, sheep, goat, April 17th, and bison. And then deer, antelope, forthcoming application strategy article. That deadline's going to be May 31st, end of May.
Yep. You guys know where Josh Allen went to college?
Nope. Wyoming.
That's how you know it's a great state.
There you go.
Yeah. And for guys listening to the app strategy that Terrell wrote will be live on the website by the time you listen to this. So it's going to be listed on the homepage. If not, hover over the little tools on the left, scroll down to strategy articles. It'll be listed right there under application strategies. It'll be 2023 Wyoming elk. Dive in, utilize that app strategy for all your app knowledge.
I'm going to Wyoming. I'm pumped about it.
I'm pumped.
I gotta make it fit for my schedule.
Oh, you can make it fit.
I probably will. I mean, I got a wife who's I love that she's into it. So I got to figure out how I can get both to work. But
or trail. You could go to Wyoming this year. Have a great hunt. I save my points. Because I'm a really nice guy. I have a lot of points.
And you're a huge elk
It
guy
sounds
now.
like a loaded.
I might need something in
sounds
return.
loaded.
But if you want to go back again in 2024, use my points.
Brady's a big elk guy.
And hunt deer, you say?
Hunt deer.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you got. And I heard you got some points for deer.
I do. I got a bunch of points for deer in Wyoming,
You know,
which I hear on the uptick.
I've heard the same.
I've heard
and
it's
I got
on-
a pile
on
of
the-
points for deer there
On
too.
the tick. Yep. Well, good deal. Apply in Wyoming.
Apply in Wyoming. I appreciate you letting us tap into all your knowledge trail, as always.
Yep.
I can't wait to.
Anytime.
I get to dive into that app strategy now. I'm going to be up all night.
Wyoming's one of those states that you're excited to hunt, though, no matter what.
Oh, man.
Any species. Every time Wyoming, I'm excited to go. It's such a great place.
Sounds weird, but to draw a general season elk tag in Wyoming, I'm as excited as probably 6 to 8 10-point unit in Colorado.
Bro, I'm with you.
To be
Absolutely.
That's the truth.
No question. Maybe even more, honestly, maybe even more excited.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really fun. That is a fun
It's just
hunt.
such a good state. I love Wyoming.
All right, get applied. Dive in, do your research. Promo code podcast if you're not an insider. Get $50 back to the Go Hunt Gear Shop.
Cool. Done.
We out.
See you guys later.